Because I feel like the pressure's on me too. Like you're like 5, 4, 3, and then I lose count. Welcome to Trucking Forward with Tim and Adam. I'm Tim.
I'm Adam.
And this is a podcast where two former engineers sit awkwardly in a really small and very hot room and talk all things trucking and autonomy and
make fun of each other a little bit. I think it's kind of the point,
yeah, we do kind of make fun of each other just a little bit.
Don't worry, Tim. They'll edit out the weird silence. Keep going.
Well, I wasn't sure. That's fair. It was a really weird silence. It's also a weird science. It was a weird silence, but I was trying to think of how to go into this because at this point we're re-recording episode 1, and like we've done multiple other episodes, so I don't know where to go forward from here. Like you and I aren't good when we've rehearsed. Like we're
That's
only
fair.
Good when we haven't rehearsed, and
That's also fair.
at this point I feel like.
But the first episode for the first take was months ago, so it's stale. I don't think it counts anymore.
That's true, but we've also gotten better. It's like nobody's gonna, forgive our mistakes from before. Like
That's fair.
So our very first episode, we recorded it, and then Jason, one of our producers, came in and he took the recording out of the camera and deleted it, while telling us the whole time that it was great. It was perfect.
You make it sound more intentional than it was. It's probably not fair to Jason.
That's fair. I think he deleted it by accident, but is that like lack of intention or lack of competence?
I would tend to think of it as a challenge.
Oh, a challenge.
Surpass yourselves. Right?
But I can't. That's gold. It's gold nobody will ever have access to. It's been lost to the digital medium. Like it's been deleted from the consciousness of the world.
And then it keeps spinning.
It does. It's almost like it wasn't important.
So what's Torc? Who's Torc?
What are we talking about? We'll go to our whiteboard. So we do have a whiteboard in here. Yeah, I know you guys can't see the room we're in, all 12 of you that are listening. But we do have a whiteboard. Kylie, our other producer, is very nice. She writes out notes for us. And we occasionally, when we get off track, as we sometimes do, we can get back on track with our whiteboard. And our whiteboard right now tells us to talk about who is Torc. So for the uninitiated in this conversation, who's Torc, Adam?
Oh, I should know this.
You really should.
Torc Robotics is an independent subsidiary of Daimler Trucks. We got our start back in 2005, I think, with a lot of various robotics projects, primarily coming up through the Diaper Urban Challenge, Grand Challenge, etc. I think that's really before your or our eyes time. Mm-hmm. Since then, have went through a lot of defense and construction and mining, robotics, etc. And then in 2017, really turning back to the on-road space, yada, yada, yada. And now a subsidiary of Daimler Trucks where we get to make really awesome vehicles to do really awesome things and satisfy real-world problems.
Awesome. So Torc's like, and I say this like I don't work for Torc, and we both work for Torc. Torc is a developer of level 4 autonomous trucks.
For Class 8 vehicles, yeah.
For Class 8 vehicles. So I guess, why a podcast?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. I mean, you want the honest answer?
I want the honest answer. We are honest on this podcast. That's a standard that I'm setting right now.
Well, I think overall with our positions, part of our positions are trying to promote Torc and also try and prove to other people that we're worth working at Torc. And so podcast was a great way to engage with the public. And with 13 people, the pressure was low. And they told us most of these wouldn't be on video, which also helped.
But then we walked into the room and they were recording video.
Yeah, that was a bit of a mistake.
What if this makes it on video?
It'll be fine. I've come to terms with how I look. I've done my duty to the species. I've had children. It's fine.
So you mentioned positions. I am the VP of engineering for Autonomy at Torc. I know that means absolutely nothing to anybody that's listening.
Yeah, what does that mean? Tell us. I'm enthralled. I need to know more.
Really? You're enthralled?
Please describe for us the life and a VP of Autonomy at Torc.
Well, It starts with what exactly do I lead? So I lead the algorithm development teams and the virtual driver. Virtual driver is the application software that kind of drives the truck. I lead the teams from sensor input, so data coming from cameras and data coming from radars and other sensors, all the way to what we call motion control outputs. So actually sending commands to the vehicle to move a steering wheel or press a brake or press the accelerator, or eventually they'll let me honk the horn. It's a goal.
It's in a spec. We'll get there.
It is in a spec book. It'll eventually they'll let me control the horn. And so I kind of set what those teams are working on. I build those teams, build out. I don't know. I do all kinds of stuff, Adam. You're laughing at me right now. Like, I know none of you can see him, but like his face right now, he's just making fun of me in his head.
I think I appreciate the challenge. While you tend to do it day to day, and you do a good job, it's shocking how hard it is to describe what you do to somebody else.
That's fair. What do you do?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I said this on one of our recordings, but I actually had to look it up. My title is Chief Architect, and when I Google searched, and I should have chat GPT'd, but I'm truly trying to get caught up with the times. But a Google search.
Remember, the first time we recorded this, chat GPT didn't really exist. Well, it existed, but it wasn't like publicly.
Yeah, the momentum is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get there. I'm slow in the uptake.
But, I mean, just if you think about it, when your title was created, there was no chat GPT.
That's fair, yeah. I'm archaic. Thanks, Tim. That really makes me feel good. But Google said I should be in a lot of meetings, and I feel like I'm nailing it, so that's good, But realistically, my job is to really try and to weave the technical threads. A lot of different things happening within Tim's teams, within other teams outside of autonomy. I think it's easy on the outside of like, what's outside of autonomy? There's a lot, right? We have compute, sensing, all of our hardware challenges. What's the relationship look like with the chassis, et cetera? And I spend a lot of time, I would say, trying to make sure we're all saying the same things.
Nice. So you kind of pull the technical web together and make sure that, we're actually building something as opposed to just building a whole bunch of
I'm the least pieces. The one accountable for it. So yeah, we'll see where I'm doing it. But it's not just me no more than it's just you. We rely on a really fantastic team of a lot of really talented people to get there. So
that's true. We do have a very talented team. And so for this podcast, for those that are listening, this podcast isn't really intended to focus on Torc all the time. Our first few episodes, we'll get to talk to a bunch of different people from within Torc in different positions on different topics. But really, this podcast is supposed to focus on kind of level 4 autonomy in general and the challenges, both technical and
business
yeah. And regulatory, kind of across the board, and just be kind of a sounding board. With that said, why us?
Oh, man. That's a good question. Man, I wish I would ask that one first. Why us? Well, I would say, A, we get along well. We've known each other now for years, worked together, et cetera, can make fun of each other and not take it too personally the next day. So it keeps it a little bit, lightens the mood. But I would say, generally speaking, with where we sit in the organization, this is our job. We try and understand kind of the whole ecosystem. And so as much as it is for us a chance to engage with other parts of the ecosystem, it's also a chance for us to learn as much as teach the community. And in doing so, hopefully get to like 15, 16 followers at least.
That's fair. My personal goal, 14. Deshant has 12. And I just personally, I'm not trying to beat him necessarily. I just he had set a bar.
Competition is the spice of life.
Exactly. I'm very competitive. And I want to get to at least 14. So we've known each other for a while.
That's fair.
And the whiteboard says that we should talk about how we met. So Adam and I met because Adam was my boss for a little while there. So
I was desperate at the time. Don't judge me too much.
You were just a little bit desperate. You were so desperate, you hired me from a phone interview.
Yeah, that's fair. And it sounds bad, but I pride myself on being able to judge, I would say, passion and technical talent, at least a little bit.
Ooh, man, thank God you added technical talent, because like if all I had going for me was
the
passion.
the intersection of like fantastic engineers is both, right? Like you can be smart, but if you're not passionate, it doesn't really matter, right? And so Tim, I would say, was the intersection of both. And so that, and when we hired him off of a phone call, we got a really good deal.
That's fair. I was willing to take anything at that point.
And then I heard about it for months afterward. That was around the time that we were acquired and the pay scales were changing and we were adapting to the overall environment, et cetera, et cetera. Tim still thought we were working on construction robots.
I did. When I came to Torc, I came to Torc with the impression of like big, huge mining haul trucks and off-road vehicles. And I was like, you know what?
Which was pretty fun. And,
yeah, I didn't get to work on any of it.
Trucks are pretty fun too.
You know what? That's fair. I have spent...
Until you sling 80,000 pounds down an interstate with 30 centimeters of tolerance on the other side, you haven't lived.
It's one of my favorite memories of the job is like the first public road test we did kind of down a mountain canyon. That was like being in the cab and like our algorithms kind of, again, as you said, that 30 centimeter, actually at the time it was 15 centimeter tolerance.
Yeah.
Right? That 15 centimeter tolerance all the way down going 65 miles an hour and just knowing it hit every point. Oh my gosh, that was amazing.
And that's why we hired Tim. And a good deal.
And a good deal. You wouldn't have hired me if it wasn't a good deal. How did you get into Torc?
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe.
Why would they have hired you?
Similar place, actually. We really come from similar backgrounds. I think we were both at a pretty dodgy spot with our graduate education.
It's dodgy. That's not a great way to put
dodgy.
that.
How would you say it?
Burnt out?
Yeah, that's probably a better way to say it. And I think everybody that's went through an advanced academic degree probably hits that point in their spot at one point in time, and just a matter of what you do with it. And I decided to go get a job. But yeah, I left my PhD candidacy at the time and joined as a software developer, and that was back in 2016, and have since done a bunch of technical leadership roles and some kind of people sheet leadership roles and so forth and so on. Here I am.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you're here.
Samesies.
Because if you weren't, I wouldn't get to make fun of you.
Also true. And good steaks and all the barbecue stuff on the weekends, etc. Like there are other advantages.
There are other advantages, but I need to make it known to this podcast. Adam makes some of the best steak I've ever had in my life, and that means the like high-end restaurant.
Speaking of which, is why we got to get out of here, right? Like
that is why he promised me a steak for doing this. No, that's not true. I don't know what Kylie promised us. Oh no, you're right. It was fame and popularity.
Yeah, mostly that
for the 14 people. Okay, so obviously we'll have real topics to talk about in episodes 2 and beyond. And I know this because we've actually recorded some of episodes 2 and beyond. Remember, this is a re-recording. I forgot to mention that the second time we recorded this, you and I bombed.
But I think this one's better. So far, it feels better.
So far, the energy on this one feels a little bit better. I feel like, Jason and Kylie, they're going to come in here and be like,
I'm so glad we redid this.
Me too. But anyway, in future episodes, as I said earlier, we're going to bring on some different perspectives within engineering, and then external to engineering here at Torc. And then we're going to start bringing in people from across the industry in different backgrounds. And really the goal of this podcast is to pick a topic area and kind of just explore that area and learn new things, discuss, ask questions, and then pick a new area and do it all over again. So in our second episode, our first, I would say, real topic episode that's not just the two of us going back and forth, we're bringing on our VP of Systems Engineering.
And safety.
And safety.
And
that's
safety.
true.
Safety engineering, to be clear. Lots of safeties, but safety engineering.
I cut that out, and I should not have.
I think it's a critical part. I want to make sure it's...
No.
Not. Obviously, safety is critical, but the safety engineering is also a very critical
it's
aspect.
very critical part of Dushan's role. So Dushan will join us, and we'll dive in onto kind of what systems and safety is, what standards are, and kind of how do we know we're building the right thing?
Yeah, and what's it mean? Yeah.
And what does it mean to build the right thing? After that, we've got Mike Evitable, one of Torc's founders and engineering leaders, coming in. He's going to talk about how you scale up an engineering organization and kind of the challenges of scaling, a lot of the history of Torc in general. And then the episode after that, we've got Walter, and Walter is one of our favorite individuals. He's the chief zealot, and I would say at Torc, but I think just in general for Autonomy, he might be the chief zealot for autonomous level 4 trucks in the world. But he's going to kind of go over some of the business side of things and what the business landscape looks like, why this technology is so beneficial, and why we're looking to build what we're building. So, and then more episodes after that in the future.
Yeah, I think he ribs on engineers a little bit too, so that'll be fun.
He does, and the problem is it's so easy.
It's easy.
I know this. I guess with that, thank you for taking the time to listen to us introduce ourselves, and thanks for diving into our podcast.
Yeah, we look forward to talking to you guys soon.
Thank you.
This has been Trucking Forward with Tim and Adam, where two former engineers talk about all the things trucking and technology and how they meet in the middle. We appreciate you listening, and please subscribe or look for us on torc.ai.